Lord of Mystery, The Return of the Stars Chapter 41-50. Asta took a closer look and found that the light of this star was close to black. The black light surrounded it, making it look eerie and strange. The light of the star where the fallen mother goddess was located was crimson, as if a crimson moon was hidden in it, or it should be described as the original moon. The light of the star where the lamp goddess was located was light gold, a color with a sense of majesty and miracle. The ability to see the color of the star's light was a new change that occurred in the Hall of Stars after he was promoted to Sequence 8, which helped him understand some of the characteristics of the star. In the dim black light, a huge and bloated tree could be vaguely seen supporting the sky. In the center of the tree, there was a figure tightly bound by countless branches. The dense trunks and branches were hung with fruits, and each fruit was covered with red lines, and the lines were engraved with smiling faces. This was a very strange picture, which made Asta feel a little scared. He observed carefully for a long time and made a rough judgment in his heart. The outer god corresponding to this star should be the mother tree of desire, known as cassava. The figure that was tightly bound was most likely the god at the end of the alien path, the bound god who originally founded the Rose School. According to the information revealed in this picture, the bound god has been completely eroded and occupied by the mother tree of desire. Hasta only looked at it for a few times and then looked away. He was also very wary of the mother tree of desire. Among all the outer gods and the old ones, both he and the fallen mother goddess can exert their own power through the barrier to influence the present world, and the pollution is very large, so we must be vigilant. If one is not careful, he will give birth to a child for the mother tree of desire. The mother tree of desire will arouse the desire of creatures to reproduce, and let the polluted creatures mate and give birth to children. If it is the fallen mother goddess, he does not need to have the desire to reproduce, but will have the instinct and ability to reproduce on his own. Well, even though he is a man, as long as he is polluted by the power of the fallen mother goddess, the child will also be born by him. He does not want to be a so-called male mother. When he thought of that scene, Asta shuddered. It was so scary. Compared with the other three, the jinn was just a gentle and harmless little sheep. For the first time, Asta felt that he had been a little unfriendly to the jinn in the past. But this thought was quickly thrown behind him. He still had to test how much power he could control in the Hall of Stars. He retracted his sight and cast his gaze towards the star where the jinn was. Compared with the black light just now, the pale golden light was like a hell and a heaven. Asta saw the jinn sealed in the wishing lamp as he wished, and the range he could see increased several times. Originally, he could only see the scenery within 1 meter near the wishing lamp, but now he could see at least within 3 meters. He could see clearly that the wishing lamp was sealed in a small iron cage in a room. The room should be a cabin, because there were obvious lightning and thunder in the sky outside, and there was a faint sound of waves hitting. Dong, dong, dong. Asta tapped his fingers on the table, making a rhythmic sound. He now has 2 chains of order, and his spirituality has also increased a lot. Can he come up with some new tricks? Inside the wishing magic lamp, the lamp god suddenly felt a burst of malice coming from the starry sky above his head. Damn it! What else does he want to do? The lamp god came out of the wishing magic lamp with a gloomy face, looking at the starry sky above his head, and he suddenly felt that his future days would become more and more difficult. At his level, he can already give early warnings for the power that can affect his own destiny. This feeling was not strong enough before, but now, he can clearly feel it. There will be an incident that can affect his destiny in the near future. Whether it is good or bad, he can hardly see clearly. He can only vaguely perceive that new opportunities will be born in the malice. For him, the best opportunity is to be able to return to the starry sky as soon as possible. He does not want to be trapped in this wishing magic lamp until the end of the world. The power of the stars, new opportunities. The gloomy face of the lamp god gradually faded, and he began to ponder. He now believes that as long as the mysterious being is willing to lend a hand, he can escape the seal and return to the starry sky. But what conditions can impress the other party now? With his current ability, it is still possible to satisfy the wishes below the level of the true God, but if it involves a higher level, he must get out of trouble and recover. Such ability is obviously not valued by the mysterious being. Perhaps, he really will ask me for help. The lamp god thought for a long time and came up with a possibility. The other party's status and authority will definitely not be lower than his, or even higher than his. There are not many such beings in the entire starry sky. If there is no need for his help, why would he stare at him every day? Compared with the other party, the only advantage he has is that he is inside the barrier, while the other party is above the starry sky. The reason why the other party can penetrate the barrier and affect him may be that he has some special relationship with him, or it may be because of the wishing magic lamp itself. He needs his power inside the barrier to help him complete some things that he cannot do now. This is why he has been staring at him. This is a very reasonable guess. Just as the lamp god fell into deep thought, an illusory whip fell from the starry sky and hit him hard. The whole small iron cage was whipped out and smashed a wooden table in the cabin before it stopped. The force of this whip was much greater than before. It was a little painful, but still within the acceptable range. Before the lamp god could react, another whip came whistling and whipped him again. The whole small iron cage was whipped and spun around, smashing many objects in the cabin one after another. The continuous sound of objects breaking aroused Bernadette's vigilance outside. She immediately came to drive away the nearby crew members, opened the door alone, and walked in. As soon as she raised her eyes, she saw that the small iron cage that trapped the wishing lamp was now held up in the air by two whips on the left and right. The scene was like someone was stretching out a pair of hands, holding up the wishing lamp, and putting it in front of him for casual observation. Not good. Bernadette reacted quickly and quickly strengthened the sealing power of the small iron cage to prevent the lamp god in the wishing lamp from taking this opportunity to escape. Once the lamp god escapes, it will be a disaster. It is normal to trigger the descent of gods, and there is more than one true god. Whether it is the seven righteous gods or the evil gods such as the original witch and the fallen creator, they will not allow the lamp god to escape the barrier at this time. Soon, the seal power was enhanced and the small iron cage successfully sealed the wishing lamp and fell directly from midair. The two whips hanging from the starry sky have also disappeared, and its breath is completely undetectable. Bernadette frowned. She suspected that it was not her enhanced seal that had an effect, but the owner of the two whips chose to leave on his own initiative. Compared with the first commotion, this time the commotion was undoubtedly much bigger. From this, it can be seen that the existence above the starry sky has a stronger and stronger influence on the world. This is not a good thing. If the other party really came with good intentions, why did he come to tease the lamp god every night instead of talking to himself? This behavior is not only confusing to the lamp god, but also difficult for her as a bystander to understand. Sometimes she even wondered why the other party didn't just help the lamp god break the seal. From the reaction of the lamp god and the observations over the past month, she could be sure that he had no intention of helping the lamp god break the seal. Not only did he not help, but he also came to whip the lamp god every night. Was this a strange habit? Or was he an enemy of the lamp god? Deliberately humiliating the lamp god in this way? She couldn't figure it out, and she didn't dare to think deeply about it. Knowledge is poisonous. This is her experience along the way. Knowing too many things means that the danger is getting closer. Damn it. If you have the ability, show up and let me see who you are. Hiding is really shameful. All kinds of humiliation. I will definitely go to the starry sky to settle this account with you when I get out of trouble in the future. At this time, the lamp god showed his anger at the right time, and the angry expression on his face did not seem fake. Hey, be quiet. Bernadette waved her right hand and slapped the wishing lamp and the small iron cage away with a slap. She was in a bad mood, so she took out her anger on the lamp god. For more than a month, she has been worried about this matter every night and can't sleep well. And to prevent accidents, she must let the ship wander around the Storm Temple. This has aroused the vigilance of the Storm Church's top leaders, and even a saint has descended. If this continues, she can only choose to give up the wishing lamp and throw it to the 7 major Orthodox churches for suppression. In this way, she will lose a trump card that can turn the situation around. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Bernadette's eyes are slightly cold, her pretty face is cold, and she pulls the wishing lamp in the air to vent her anger. Bernadette, even you. Shut up. Snap. Bernadette slapped again, and the wishing lamp and the genie spun around for several circles. HMPH. The genie snorted coldly and returned to the wishing lamp, no longer provoking Bernadette, who was angry. After a little venting, Bernadette felt much better. She checked the seal again and found that there was no damage. Then she turned around and left the room. Inside the wishing lamp, the genie's angry expression was restrained, revealing a thoughtful look. Tonight, he was not as angry as he had just shown. Instead, he was a little expectant, looking forward to the next changes. As long as the other party needed his help, the two sides could reach a cooperative relationship, which was very beneficial for him to break the seal. Originally, he was worried that the other party might have the same authority as himself and would devour him one day, but after more than a month of observation, he gradually dispelled this speculation. If he were the other party, he would never reveal his intentions in advance, and would not come to contact him casually, so as not to arouse his vigilance and alertness. Silently waiting for the right time, and then killing him with one blow, this is in line with the practice of top hunters. Maybe in the near future, I can return to the starry sky. The genie thought of returning to the starry sky in the near future and restoring the complete picture, and he was in a rare happy mood. I'm really a bit tired. In the Hall of Stars, Hasta retracted his gaze from the star where the lamp god was, leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes and thought about what he had just gained. After whipping the lamp god twice at the beginning, he found that he still had about half of his spiritual power, so he thought about experimenting to see if he could have a more direct impact on the wish god lamp. This is what happened when Bernadette opened the door. He didn't want to conflict with Bernadette for the time being, and his spiritual power was losing faster. When Bernadette took action to strengthen the seal, he left and returned to the Hall of Stars. After tonight's test, he has determined that the current lamp god is not a threat to him. For more than a month, he would take time to whip the lamp god every night. In addition to testing whether the lamp god now has the ability to fight back, there is another attempt. Now there are only about 19 years left before the predicted doomsday of 1368. In these 19 years, he wants to be promoted to Sequence 1 and establish a kingdom to become the new Black Emperor. Time is really too tight. Especially in the Black Emperor's apotheosis ceremony, the time he needs to spend will definitely exceed 10 years. He remembered that the Black Emperor's apotheosis ceremony was to have a country of his own, to make his own name closely associated with the title of emperor, and to become common knowledge among the people. A set of strict and complex but abnormal rules must be established, including architectural style, customs and habits, etc. Then 9 pyramid-like mausoleums must be built. After secretly entering one of the mausoleums, with the participation and approval of most of the people, the corresponding sacrificial ceremonies scattered in different cities must be used to take the Sequence 0 potion. Finally, resist madness and maintain rationality, and it is possible to successfully advance to Sequence 0 Black Emperor. It is difficult to become a Black Emperor, especially when the previous Black Emperor failed not long ago. Then, jumping to the adjacent judgment path is a good choice. Because he speculated that the apotheosis ceremony of the Sequence 0 judge of the judgment path would take less time than the apotheosis ceremony of the Black Emperor. His speculation mainly came from the apotheosis ceremonies of several known paths. For example, wrong path, to become a Sequence 0 error is to replace someone else in their apotheosis ceremony. Storm path, to become a Sequence 0 tyrant, you need to have hundreds of thousands of followers who surrender out of fear, then challenge a god, and successfully survive. Red Priest path, to become a god, you must start a war that sweeps across the continent and win. Visionary path, let the development of the times meet your expectations, and then take potions to advance at key points and in the prescribed trend of the times. Other references to the rites of deification include the eternal blazing sun and the god of knowledge and wisdom. The sun, the White Tower, and the tyrant became gods after the same event, so it can be inferred that their rites of deification should also involve the power of the god level. From these rites of deification, a relatively credible conclusion can be drawn that the rites of deification are generally related to the names of their corresponding Sequence 0. Based on this, Hasta has tried many times to speculate on the rites of deification of the Sequence 0 judge of the judgment path. The rite of deification of the judge is most likely to be to judge the sins committed by other gods and make them obey the verdict. In addition to judging the existence of the god level, Hasta can't think of what else the Sequence 0 judge can judge for the time being. Judge a true god at Sequence 1 and make that true god obey the judgment. This difficulty and status are enough to support a new true God. After all, judging the sins of a true God is equivalent to shaking the anchor of faith in the true God. In this case, if someone successfully ascends to the throne of God, then there must be a God who will go crazy or even fall because of the chaos and shaking of the anchor of faith. Hasta reasonably suspects that the reason why there is no sequence 0 in the judge path at present may be because the 7 great gods do not allow it. In their past history, they have committed many sins, because evil and good have never been moral issues that gods need to consider. Especially the Storm Lord, the God of knowledge and wisdom, and the eternal Sun who shared the ancient Sun God. If there were no judgment and justice cards in the 22 tarot cards, he would think that the justice card should belong to the judgment path, not the audience path. The audience of justice, this sounds very strange. The judgment of justice, this is very pleasing to the ear and reasonable. Of course, all this is just Hasta's personal speculation. He only dared to think about these things when he was in the Hall of Stars. In reality, he would not dare to offend the true God in this way. If his speculation came true, then he would have a very good opportunity to become a god in the future. When Amun and the Fool began to compete for the Lord of Mysteries, Adam became a god as a dreamer, and imagined the strength of the half-step Old One to seal the Lord of Storms, the God of knowledge and wisdom, and the eternal Sun, so that they could not leave the kingdom of God in a short time. At this time, if he could become the Sequence 1 Prince of Sequence Killing, plus gather 3 copies of the Sequence 1 extraordinary characteristics and uniqueness of the Judgment Path, then he could take this opportunity to judge the true God. I believe that Amun and Adam are happy to see the judgment of these 3 true gods. If he makes friends with the goddess of night, then his god-making ceremony will basically be completed by more than half. If it really doesn't work, the Hall of Stars can bring the Old One to a meeting with the outer gods, choose an outer god, and judge him. I believe that the existing 7 major gods will not stop it. The lamp god is a very suitable choice. Sealed in the wishing lamp, his existing power is limited, and he is also an outside god involved in the path of judgment and the Black Emperor. There is really no more suitable candidate than him. Furthermore, there is another possibility. The godhood ceremony of the Sequence 0 judge may be related to education, rules, and order. Anyway, whipping the jinn and giving him judgment and education may, in the long run, allow you to perform the role in advance. Just like Klein moving faster and faster in the later stage. In the short term, testing the jinn gods is something that must be done. Only by testing the authority of the Hall of Stars first can they be invited to come here for a meeting. Moreover, the jinn is in existence at the top of the path of judgment and the Black Emperor. Sooner or later he will be an enemy. It is very reasonable to whip him. It can also make you feel better, so why not? There are definitely adventures, but in the mysterious world, which choice does not require risk. Hasta quietly pondered the relevant issues, and the starry sky above his head shed brilliant light, adding an aura of holiness and immortality to him. After some thought, he decided to wait. When he uses the second chain of order to formulate a new rule, he can then bring the jinn to the Hall of Stars. This is double insurance. But for the second rule, he has no idea yet. After thinking for a long time, Hasta left the Hall of Stars until his head felt like it was bursting with pain. When he fainted and fell into a deep sleep, he seemed to see a chain of order glowing with starlight integrated into his right arm. In a daze, the chain of order can also transform into different weapons, which can be controlled by oneself. Sure enough, I am so tired that even my dreams are blurry. Hasta woke up early in the morning, patted his still swollen head, and lay on his back on the quilt for another 10 minutes before getting up. Get out of bed and simply move your fists and feet. You can really feel the powerful power contained in every muscle of your body. He squatted down on his horse and punched straight away, which made a somewhat empty explosion. With a slight jump in the room, he could easily jump more than 2 meters high and almost hit the roof. Fortunately, his hands supported the roof in time, so he did not cause an accident. Tisk, if you go to the Olympics with a body like this, you can at least win 1 or 2 gold medals, right? In the room, Hasta gradually adapted to his surge in strength due to the barbarian. I picked up the usually heavy cane and waved it twice, and it obviously felt much lighter, like holding a plastic stick. Weapons suitable for barbarians should be heavy weapons such as maces and hammers, right? Hasta imagined that scene. He was holding a big hammer and smashed it with one strike, directly smashing through the people in the house. If this were on an ancient battlefield, he would definitely be a fierce general. Asta thought about it and felt that it was too bullying. It was only now that he had the feeling of being an extraordinary person, someone who was superior to ordinary people and possessed something extraordinary. After staying in the room for another 20 minutes, Asta left the room and went out to freshen up and have breakfast. His appetite is much larger than usual. Maybe his digestive system also evolved when he was promoted to barbarian. Butler Neil looked at Hasta, who was enjoying his meal today but trying to remain elegant while eating, with a silent expression on his face. After breakfast, Asta did not go to Backland University to study. He had taken a few days off in advance to serve as an adaptation period. Come to the study, sit at the desk, take out a blank piece of paper, and prepare to sort out the rules for playing a barbarian. The difficulty for him in playing the role of a lawyer is to memorize and remember the complicated provisions. As for the core points of distorting the law, using the law for his own benefit, and the law must conform to the trend of the times, it is not difficult for him. After all, the laws he knew were beyond this era. Even if he was not a legal professional, he still knew a lot of modern laws. Especially after an outlaw maniac who was good at popularizing science using Zhong-san as an example appeared, he also followed many lectures. Playing a barbarian made him a little bit embarrassed. His current status is that of a nobleman, and nobleman is a symbol of courtesy and elegance. This is the opposite extreme of being a barbarian. What is a barbarian? When you are undecided, you will be dealt with a big stick instead of stopping to patiently tell you the facts and reason. They are the opposite of rules and order, and often conflict with, ignore, and destroy rules and order. The powerful force prevents them from being bound by rules. They go their own way and ignore the rules of the game set by the outside world. At the same time, they are also representatives of no brains and relatively low IQ. Another way is that when they are rejected by mainstream concepts and disliked, they will naturally be called barbarians. Hasta patiently summarized the key points of playing a barbarian. Although it may not be correct, it is generally in this direction. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. The first rule of playing a barbarian: do more with your hands and less with your brain when encountering problems, and rely more on force to solve the corresponding problems. The second rule: when facing the common sense of rules and order recognized by the public, sometimes you can try to break them in a barbaric way. The third rule: barbarism is not only reflected in behavior, but also in psychology. Barbarism represents an unrestrained and self-centered personality. The fourth rule: don't send yourself to jail. Among them, the fourth rule is the most important. He is playing a barbarian, not a real barbarian. If he always uses brute force to solve problems, he will definitely be imprisoned for the crime of injuring others. After listing the 4 rules of playing a barbarian, Hasta felt that the road ahead was much clearer. But knowing is one thing, and actually doing it is another. He himself is not an impulsive and reckless person, and he also has to pay attention to the image of a noble, so he must grasp the degree. Otherwise, after digesting the barbarian potion, his reputation as Baron Campbell will be stinking, which is not conducive to his future promotion to the title. He also thought about maintaining an elegant aristocratic image during the day and secretly pretending to be a barbarian at night. But this behavior is undoubtedly self-deception. It is not only not conducive to digesting the potion, but also makes oneself schizophrenic. And there are no timid and evasive barbarians. People who meet this behavior are called thieves. In his opinion, the most suitable people to play barbarians are those gangsters with low morals and impulsive behavior. Their behavior has always been barbaric and rude, and they are used to solving problems with force. Unfortunately, he is not that type of person. Hasta did not come out of the study until lunch at noon. He walked down the stairs, looked at the busy maid, and then looked at Butler Neil, thinking for a moment. He ripped open the first button of his white shirt, and his smiling expression was put away, replaced by an unscrupulous glance, and the elegant posture of walking down the stairs became free and casual. Butler Neil looked up and froze in his place, his eyes a little confused and puzzled. It's been less than half a day, right? Why did the Baron change so much? Was he stimulated by something? Baron, you need to maintain a decent dress and elegant temperament even in private. Butler Neal felt that he had to remind him. Asta walked down the stairs and chuckled. Decent dress and elegant temperament are just external images. A true noble is one who dares to be loyal to his heart. Quote. Butler Neal's eyes were even more confused. Loyal to his heart. Dressed like this, with this tone, and behaved like this, not bound by the status of a noble, is this your heart? Don't worry so much, this is just a necessary stage in life, I will still be Baron Campbell. Are you in the rebellious period of youth? Butler Neal whispered. This time it was Asta's turn to be silent, but he soon smiled and said, Butler Neal, you are worthy of being the butler I personally selected. You can always easily see through the essence of my exaggerated behavior. It is indeed the rebellious period of youth. Butler Neal was not satisfied. When his grandson reached the age of the Baron, he often contradicted his father and was unwilling to be bound by various rules and regulations. He shouted about freedom and resistance to authority every day. With their family and status, how could they be qualified to pursue freedom? They also resisted authority. Did they want to rebel against their superiors? For young people with such symptoms, his experience is that they don't need to pay attention to them. When they hit a wall in society a few times, they will be honest. When the two maids passed by Asta, they all looked at the place where Asta's buttons were torn open. There was a hint of white skin, which made their faces slightly red. They looked at it twice more, and then quickened their pace and left. Asta ignored such scrutiny and walked towards the dining table with a heroic step. Today's lunch staple is seafood fried rice plus a pan-fried veal steak, and 2 desserts after the meal. Asta changed his usual elegant eating style and became much wilder. If he hadn't been afraid that the sudden change would scare Butler Neal, he would have just picked up the fried veal steak and started eating it instead of cutting it into small pieces with a knife and fork. Butler Neal just glanced at Asta and said nothing. In his opinion, Asta was not very old and might be yearning for the bold and dissolute life of those adult nobles. Just like children always like to prove that they have grown up by drinking and smoking. Little did they know that their behavior makes them look more childish. Thinking of this, Butler Neal smiled. It felt like his own child was about to grow up. After lunch, Asta returned to the study. He had a lot of experience in playing the role of a barbarian, and now he needed to study how to formulate the second new rule. The first new rule has already given him a certain guarantee for long-term development, and he does not need similar rules for the time being. He had considered strengthening the current combat power or formulating a rule specifically for the Hall of Stars. As he was about to drag the God of Lights into the Hall of Stars, he felt it necessary to strengthen the power of the rules of the Hall of Stars first, which was also a way to formulate rules for the foreign gods to come to the Hall of Stars for meetings in the future. This rule can be similar to, in the Hall of Stars, Hasta Campbell is the most respected, and other participants cannot offend His Majesty. Any participant who dares to provoke him will be severely punished. He must try his best to ensure that he has the dominance of the Hall of Stars, and can ensure that when the outer gods come, they cannot target him, and cannot cause trouble for him. It is equivalent to the Hall of Stars being his own kingdom of God, and other participants must abide by the rules he has made, otherwise they will be expelled and wiped out. In fact, it can be summed up in one sentence. In the Hall of Stars, he, Hasta Campbell, has no rivals against any outer gods. The tone is a bit big, but it is definitely right to think in this direction. He is relatively weak now, but it is uncertain in the future. The rules he needs are those that can accompany his growth, not those that are invincible within Sequence 8. Otherwise, when he is promoted to Sequence 7, wouldn't it be a waste of a rule? According to the structure and sequence level of the Hall of Stars, he can make at most 10 or 11 rules. Every new rule cannot be wasted, this is his biggest trump card. After thinking for a long time, Hasta finally started writing. Under the gaze of the stars, Hasta Campbell, a traveler from another world, the last heir of the Campbell family, is the master of the Hall of Stars. Anyone who offends him in the Hall of Stars will be severely punished. This rule is fair and reasonable, and will not be changed by any external factors. After writing, Hasta carefully read it several times and felt that there was no problem with the beginning and the end, but there was still a lot of rhetoric in the middle. Well, I have to revise it again to ensure that there will not be too many loopholes. The Hall of Stars is his biggest golden finger, and there must be no accidents. After revising for 2 hours, Hasta was quite satisfied and burned the other waste manuscripts to ashes. The Master of Chaos and Order. The origin of all rules in the starry sky. The return of the stars. After Hasta finished reading in Ancient Hermes, the star spirit body entered the Hall of Stars. With the experience from last time, he sat on a high chair, stretched out his hand to summon the second chain of order, and used his mind as a knife to engrave the content of the rules. Under the gaze of the stars, Hasta Campbell, a traveler from another world, the last heir of the Campbell family, the Hall of Stars is his kingdom of God, and the chain of order is his weapon. Anyone who is hostile to him and offends him will be pierced through the body by the chain of order and forever be suppressed under the stars. This rule is fair and reasonable, and will not be changed by any external factors. The thought moved, but the chain of order did not respond. Asta tried to change this sentence into Ancient Hermes language, but the chain of order still did not respond. Could it be that the rules set this time have exceeded the limit of the Hall of Stars? Or is it that he can only make one rule and cannot make the second or third rule? Asta stopped his action in confusion, thinking hard for a long time, and finally said to himself in astonishment, could this rule already be included in the Hall of Stars? This is my kingdom of God, the chain of order is my weapon, and I am the master of this Hall of Stars. Asta remembered that when he first came to the Hall of Stars and sat down, this realization flashed through his mind. But at that time, he was half believing and half doubting about it, and he dared not to invite the god of lamp and the fallen mother goddess to come to the meeting. Is it really what I guessed? Asta closed his eyes, leaned back in his chair, and silently felt the Hall of Stars. When he opened his eyes again, he had already got a definite answer. The rules and order of the Hall of Stars itself were enough to protect the safety of his new master. Even if he invited the god of lamp and the fallen mother goddess to come to the meeting when he was just promoted to Sequence 9 lawyer, there would be no danger. Hasta tapped the table with his fingers, shook his head and laughed, it seems that I am too cautious. Yes, if he could not ensure his safety, the Hall of Stars would not reveal the stars where the lamp god and the fallen mother goddess were, and would not give him the authority to invite them to the meeting. Perhaps the way the Hall of Stars invited the outer gods to hold meetings in the past was different from what he thought. Otherwise, with his current strength of Sequence 8, even with the high status of the Hall of Stars, he would definitely not be able to suppress the existence of the fallen mother goddess. In any case, it can be regarded as solving a troublesome matter. Asta looked relaxed, with a smile on his lips. He planned to try tonight to invite the lamp goddess. I don't know what kind of mood the lamp goddess would have when facing this mysterious existence that he had been smoking for more than a month. Before that, I need to change my image first. He certainly couldn't face the lamp goddess with this slightly immature face, and he would definitely be seen through. Asta, the King of Yellow, Hasta, the King of Yellow. Directly adopt the image of the King of Yellow. Hasta pondered for a moment, and still didn't want to have anything to do with the Yellow King. I can't use a human face and identity anymore. I need a godlike appearance similar to the outer gods and the old ones. Just like the starry sky gate on the star where Mr. Gate is, and the evil tree image on the star where the mother tree of desire is. As the master of the Hall of Stars, what kind of image should I have? Boom. In the sky, black clouds gathered into a group, and the roar of thunder hit the sea surface heavily, causing waves. At the same time, the storm was raging, bringing thunder and lightning together, and the heavy and depressing atmosphere made the onlookers feel terrified. The power of heaven and earth plus the wrath of thunder intertwined to create a horrifying scene in front of them. Dozens of ships nearby stopped sailing, most of them looked at the horrifying scene in front of them with worry. There were more than a dozen people standing on the deck of one of the ships, led by a man with messy dark blue hair, deep facial features, rough contours, and bronze skin. He looked at the extraordinary scene of surging waves in front of him, his eyes full of envy and hope, as well as awe hidden deep in his heart. As an extraordinary person in the storm path, he could detect that the abnormality of the storm and thunder in front was not purely the power of nature, but a powerful extraordinary person was turning the river and the sea upside down. The one who could cause such a big commotion was most likely the saint in the storm temple. He had accidentally heard someone call this level of extraordinary person the Sea King, which means the King of the Sea. He didn't know which sequence this was in the storm path, but he knew that this sequence must be very high. Standing on the sea, almost invincible, this is the powerful force he longed for. Mastering this powerful force is the original intention of his longing for the extraordinary world. He stood nearby and watched for a long time, and heard a rumor from some people. It is said that this abnormality is because the mysterious queen has been haunting the nearby sea recently, and her behavior is very suspicious, which has attracted the Storm Temple's targeting. It is difficult to tell whether it is true or false, but the terrifying scene of the raging waves seems to prove that the rumor is true. A high-sequence strongman. The dark blue-haired man looked stern, clenched his fists and then released them, then smiled and chatted and joked with the crew beside him as if nothing had happened. On the sea swept by the wind, the Dawn was quietly waiting for its owner to return. At this time, a shuttle-shaped object with a light green light, different from ordinary ships, broke through the waves from the depths of the seabed. Then a figure stepped out, flew into the air, and landed on the bow of the Dawn. The shuttle-shaped ship with a light green light was like a fairy tale, and disappeared in the sight of the crew of the Dawn as a faint light spot. The crew members were already familiar with this scene, and they also knew that this ship that could sneak deep in the seabed was not a ship, but a submarine. This is a very appropriate name. In this sea, only their captain can summon something that can sneak deep in the seabed. I heard from their captain that this submarine also has a name, called Nautilus. In the captain's room, Bernadette stared at the wishing lamp that was still imprisoned in the small iron cage with a bad look. The believers of the storm do have an advantage on the sea, and even you are almost trapped. The genie came out of the wishing lamp, with a teasing tone, not caring about Bernadette's bad mood at all. Just as Bernadette likes to see him in embarrassment when being whipped, he also likes to see Bernadette being forced into danger. The more dangerous the situation, the more likely Bernadette is to borrow his power. You'd better shut up now. If I'm not happy, I'll send you directly to the Storm Church. I believe they will treat your level 0 seal well. Seeing that Bernadette was really angry, the lamp god laughed and didn't argue. Now he doesn't want to be sealed by the Seven Gods Church, but is looking forward to the upcoming changes. Before the changes come, it's better to stay in Bernadette's hands. He even hopes that Bernadette will stay away from the sea near the Storm Temple. In this way, even if there is a lot of noise, it will be difficult for the people of the Storm Temple to rush to cooperate with Bernadette in the first time. You seem to be in a good mood. Bernadette seemed to have noticed something. The lamp god said casually, "It is naturally a happy thing to see you being besieged." Bernadette didn't say anything else, but she was more alert in her heart. If it was the genie in the past, after seeing that he was angry, he would definitely try to irritate him and make him do some irrational things. But today's genie seemed to be particularly obedient. "It seems that I should throw you into the endless trench now." Bernadette's words were full of evil. "The wishing lamp is a good thing, and you have made 2 wishes." The genie smiled and said, and then returned to the wishing lamp. At night, the sea was calm, and the sky was dotted with stars. The not-so-bright light made the whole sea more poetic. In the cabin, Bernadette stayed near the wishing lamp, staring at it carefully to prevent any accidents tonight. The genie was also waiting quietly. Near 11:30 in the evening, the sky above the wishing lamp seemed to be torn open, and the stars in the hole were twinkling, as if a starry sky had descended here. Bernadette, who had been on guard, had a solemn face and quickly responded to the best of her ability, trying to cut off the connection between the wishing lamp and the starry sky. The small iron cage that trapped the wishing lamp changed instantly, with several golden lights flowing, and the original square shape was transformed into an inverted pyramid structure. The tip of the inverted pyramid rippled with cold waves, turning into a golden barrier, completely covering the wishing lamp and isolating it from the starry sky. This is a level 1 seal, called the triangle spacetime. This is the backup plan that Bernadette has specially found recently to prevent the abnormality of the wishing lamp. Its function is to separate the space, strengthen the seal, and can also be used to imprison the enemy. The negative effect is, every time it is used, the holder has a chance to fall into chaotic time and space within a day, thus losing his way and unable to come out again. Haha, now you don't want to leave here quickly, and you still want to fight. Have you forgotten the way of survival you have always kept? Compared with Bernadette's nervousness, the lamp god imprisoned in the wishing lamp was in a very happy mood. Although Bernadette strengthened the seal in advance, so that he could not appear from the wishing lamp temporarily, this degree of seal could not fight against the existence above the starry sky. The gap between their status is far from what Bernadette can make up. Bernadette said coldly, "If that time comes, I would rather make a third wish than let you escape from the seal of the wishing lamp." The face of the lamp god changed slightly, and he did not say anything to provoke Bernadette. Due to the rules of the wishing lamp, as long as Bernadette makes a wish to him, he must fulfill it. Although this wish will eventually be fulfilled in a twisted way, once Bernadette gets angry, he will probably be affected. In addition to using the power of the level 1 sealed triangle spacetime, Bernadette also drew the power of the dawn to temporarily enhance her own strength in order to deal with possible dangers. Just when Bernadette used all her methods, the stars drew a chain of order to penetrate the seal of the wishing lamp and connect the lamp god. Then the stars returned to their positions, and the starry sky in the cabin also dissipated, and everything returned to its original state. Is it still impossible to stop the lamp god from breaking the seal? Bernadette looked ugly and frowned. She had used no less than 3 methods, but she still couldn't stop the behavior of the starry sky just now. Once the lamp god breaks the seal and returns to the starry sky, the outer god old days entrenched outside the barrier will surely erode and pollute the world faster. The prophesied doomsday may be brought forward because of this. Bernadette sighed, dissipated the power borrowed from the dawn, and at the same time restored the level 1 sealed triangle space-time to the state of a small iron cage. Standing still, after calming down, Bernadette's eyes were cast on the wishing lamp again. Judging from what happened just now, the genie sealed in the wishing lamp should have broken the seal with the departure of the starry sky. No. Bernadette's face changed again, and she stretched out her hand and the wishing lamp and the small iron cage flew in front of her. She looked at it carefully for a long time, and a smile slowly overflowed from the corner of her mouth. She was still wondering, if it was really the genie who escaped, how could the movement be so small? According to her understanding of the genie, once he broke the seal, he would definitely laugh wildly and then rush straight into the starry sky. The scene at that time would definitely attract the attention of all true gods. Inside the wishing magic lamp, the lamp god had a dark face, opened his mouth, and finally snorted coldly, closing his eyes to sense the strand of his consciousness that was taken away, or his clone. When the starry sky appeared just now, he also thought that the time had come for him to escape. At that time, he was both expectant and worried, fearing that the future development would exceed his expectations. But who knew that the whip fell on him, only forming a link, and then took away a strand of his clone, and then disappeared. He was indeed out of trouble, but only that strand of clone was out of trouble. The strength of the extraordinary person, who was at most equivalent to Sequence 8, arrived at the territory of the mysterious existence, and could only lie down, not even qualified to speak loudly. Now, he can feel that his clone is following the chain of order, passing through the barrier of stars, and arriving at a magnificent platinum palace. The Hall of Stars. The clone of the lamp god turned into the appearance of the wishing magic lamp and floated over. Entering the platinum palace, the first thing that caught my eye was a long table made of black crystal stone, which looked like the darkness and depth of the starry sky. There were 5 chairs on each side of the long table, plus a chair for the owner of this place, a total of 11 chairs. At this moment, a figure was already sitting on the chair of the owner, staring at me with interest. Under the dome, the stars gathered, and the endless starlight merged into the body of that figure. The black robe outlines the figure, like the deepest lightless darkness in the starry sky, with stars dotted inside, as if the starry sky has been integrated into the body. He has a pair of pupils, but no facial features. The pupils are dark black, red gold, orange, turquoise. It's hard to describe it in such shallow words. If you look carefully, you will find that it is not a pair of pupils, but stars that gather together to accommodate each other, just like a galaxy condensed into a point the size of a pupil. His arms were long and slender, and the palm of his right hand was holding a dark red planet, which he was gently playing with. His left hand was naturally placed on the table, and his fingers tapped the table rhythmically. Just sitting quietly on the chair, he naturally became the master of this place. The palace was splendid because of his presence, and the stars praised his presence. The Jinn stared for a long time, then slowly said, "Who are you?" "Superstar Master." At their level, their appearance does not mean anything. To be precise, they have never had a fixed form. Although the image of the being in front of him does not look like the Superstar Master he knows, it does not rule out that the Superstar Master comes with a new identity. "What do you think?" Asta's tone was very calm, and seemed to have a slight chuckle. "Oh, you are not a Superstar Master." The Jinn rejected the possibility that the existence in front of him was a Superstar Master. "Don't you want to choose a location?" Haster's tone was still very calm, but it also carried an irresistible majesty. The Jinn glanced at the positions 5 rows on each side, and finally floated to the last chair on the left, putting the farthest distance away from Haster. Very wary. The lantern god glanced at the height between the chair and the long table. His figure suddenly grew several times larger, and a pair of pale golden arms stretched out from both sides of the wishing lantern. Then he slowly sat down, with his arms placed on the long table, and his body leaned back slightly, trying to make your posture appear as relaxed as possible. After a long silence, the Jinn saw that the other party had no thoughts, and took the initiative to say, "There is an aura of rules and order here, but it is not the main body. The stars are the eternal theme here. I once remembered that God has a Star Master. It's a title, but it's not him." Only now did the Jinn finally let down some of his guard. "There is a power of order and rules here, but they are all under the stars, which means that the power held by the other party is slightly related to one's own, but it is not the main body. Just like the fallen mother goddess and the mother tree of desire, they both have the ability to reproduce, but one represents all the negative power in the universe, and the other represents the authority of the desires of all things. The two powers overlap, but are not the same. In your understanding, the stars are equal to the star realm." Haster's tone was still light, but this time it was a little disapproving. In fact, he himself does not understand the relationship between the star realm and the stars. Do the stars exist in the star realm, or is the star realm just a small part of the starry sky, a small world opened up by the supreme power? No way. The explanation and description of the star realm in the original work is also very vague. Only the 3-layer structure of occultism is mentioned: the real world, the spiritual world, and the astral world. God does have another name, Lord of the Stars, but as a pillar with God is the Lord of Mysteries and the fallen mother goddess. It can be seen that the star realm does not contain everything, otherwise the Lord of Mysteries and the fallen mother goddess will succumb to God. Naturally, he couldn't figure it out, so he could only ask the Jinn to explain it, or let him figure it out on his own. "Anyway, my strength cannot be reduced. The star realm is naturally not the same as the stars. I still know this knowledge." The Jinn felt like he was being underestimated, and there was a little anger in his tone. The star realm is a special world opened up among the stars. Some outer gods belong to the star realm in the past, but there are also existences that are not included in the star realm. The genie explained, indicating that he was not so ignorant. "Impossible. You can't be the Lord of the Stars." The Jinn's voice suddenly became louder. "The stars contain everything, everything. Only the original creator can be called its master, and you are definitely not." The Jinn's tone was firm, but Haster could hear his nervousness and lack of confidence. It seems that the Jinn is not as sure about his guess as he says on the surface. Yes, after all, the original creator has always been alive and lives in everything. The more powerful the existence, the more likely it is that the consciousness of the original creator will awaken in the body. For example, for the Jinn, there is no problem in saying that he is part of the original creator. It is just that he gave birth to his own consciousness and only recognized his identity as the son of chaos, not the original creator. God, the Lord of Mysteries, and the fallen mother goddess are all the same, and they can all be called parts of the original creator. But none of them wanted to be the first creator. "Your stupidity is impressive," Haster commented lightly. Quote. The Jinn god also knew that he was too fussy just now and seemed to have no IQ. If the other party was the original creator, then according to the instinct of aggregation, he would have been devoured long ago, and it would be impossible for him to sit here and chat with himself. Because the creator had no human side in the beginning, he only had the instinct of gathering and dividing. He would gather everything and then break it apart again, over and over again, endlessly. The scene became quiet for a moment, and the Deng Shen seemed a little embarrassed. After a while, he took the initiative to drop the topic. Are you the alien god who just arrived in the starry sky here? The genie had a new guess. He basically recognized the old outer gods who were entrenched outside the barrier. But he had no impression of the temple in front of him that contained the power of the stars. Then the other party's identity should be the new outer god who came here from the edge of the distant universe after he was secretly sealed. The status of this temple is definitely not low. Although he doesn't want to admit it, he should not be able to compare with the other party in status. The doomsday prophecy here is very interesting. Hasta did not answer the genie's question directly. He didn't know the origin of the Hall of Stars. Even if he knew, he couldn't tell the genie directly. So instead of following the genie's words, it's better to take the initiative, so that it can appear more mysterious. It's really interesting, and it's coming soon. The genie didn't continue the topic just now. The end of the world is coming. What kind of ending will the incomplete you have? This is also worth looking forward to. Quote. The genie didn't know what to say for a while. The reason why he tried his best to return to the starry sky before the end of the world was to avoid the worst situation. When the barrier is broken and the doomsday comes, if he still cannot get rid of the seal, then the outer gods and the old ones who are rushing in will definitely swallow him. Even if he is on a different path from the other party. Because the group of hungry predators outside have been waiting for a long time, they definitely don't mind eating a dessert first to relieve their cravings. As for the chaos and madness after swallowing, even if they don't swallow, how much rationality can they still have? Aggregation is an instinct, but not every existence can resist this instinct. I know you have the ability to help me get rid of the seal. Tell me, what deal do you want to make with me? The lamp god no longer pretended and directly negotiated. No, I don't have the ability to help you get rid of the seal. Hasta muttered in his heart. He actually knew very little about the Hall of Stars, and he was only sequence 8. Even with the help of the Hall of Stars, he couldn't help the lamp god to unlock the seal set by the Lord of Mystery with the wish lamp. Even if he had the ability, he would not help the lamp god to unlock the seal in advance. He should just wait until the end of the world. Do you have any abilities worth using now? The tone was light, as if with a little contempt. The lamp god snorted coldly. If you don't value my ability, why would you spend so much energy to pull me into this palace? Spend a lot of energy. Does this mean that he whips him every night? From the standpoint of the lamp god, it is reasonable to have such a guess. Why should he whip the lamp god every night? Hasta couldn't think of what he had in mind when he whipped the lamp god at first. A simple test. No, there should be a mischievous mentality. It's like a commoner who gets a whip that can enter the king's dream every night and whip the king. This temptation must be irresistible. Even while whipping, he would shout, "You are the king, so majestic on weekdays, but now you are pressed to the ground by me and whipped hard." Challenge authority. Insulting the superior. Or should it be said that it is to get some kind of pleasure? Whipping, pleasure. Hasta hurriedly stopped this thought, but he did not answer the question of the lamp god, but quietly waited for him to think about it first. Although I am in a state of desolation and sealed, it does not mean that you are the only hope. There must be a limit to waiting for the price. That makes sense, then you just wait. Quote. The lamp god was stunned for a long time. His words just now were just to remind the other party not to propose too much transaction, but he did not expect the other party to directly refuse to talk. Haha, are you going to start a tug of war with me? Want to wait for me to actively ask you for a transaction, and then let you take the lead? The lamp god had some guesses in his heart, but he felt a little strange. These beings are generally very straightforward and rarely play tricks like this. This reminded him of the Lord of Mystery. He was so cunning that he bullied his innocence. After a lot of deception, he directly tricked him into the wishing lamp and sealed him up until now. Thinking of this, the lamp god immediately became alert, and he must not just get out of the wolf's den and fall into the tiger's mouth. I only accept transactions of equal value. The lamp god's tone was very stiff and firm. I'm not in a hurry. Hasta replied lightly. Haha, who knows? The lamp god snorted lightly, and thought to himself, if I'm not in a hurry, would I come to harass me frequently in the past month? Seeing that there was no hope for this transaction, the lamp god had no intention of speaking again. He felt that he had to be dignified and not show too much anxiety, otherwise he would definitely be controlled by the other party. Of course, he could show his value moderately and let the other party propose better transaction conditions. The lamp god didn't want to speak, and Asta would not easily speak to lower his status, so he just held it like this. The scene was silent for a while. Asta glanced at the lamp god and said lightly, "Let's adjourn." Quote. The lamp god was stunned. He had been dignified for so long, and he got such a sentence in return. "The next gathering will be in 15 days. Asta said without waiting for the lamp spirit to react. A chain of order burst into starlight behind him, marking a starry sky and sending this part of the lamp spirit's clone back into the wishing lamp. After sending the lamp god away, Asta was much more relaxed. He leaned back and thought about what he had gained tonight. Successfully bringing the lamp god to a meeting gave him a new understanding of the ability of the Hall of Stars. Tonight, he just used the power of the Hall of Stars to draw a starry sky above the wishing lamp. When he was blocked and the seal was strengthened by Bernadette, he thought he would fail. Unexpectedly, Bernadette's power could not affect the Hall of Stars at all. He only needed a simple thought to break through the seals and bring the lamp god to the Hall of Stars for a meeting. Judging from the breath just now, the lamp god obviously did not really arrive at the Hall of Stars, but a small part of him, or a wisp of conscious clone, was brought here. His real body is still sealed in the wishing lamp and cannot break the seal. Only when he becomes stronger and completely masters the Hall of Stars, can he break through the seal of the wishing lamp and help the lamp god return to the starry sky. The ability of the Hall of Stars is really terrifying. If it falls into the hands of the old gods such as the fallen Mother Goddess and the Mother Tree of Desire, they may be able to reverse the operation and send the outer gods, old gods, outside the starry sky into the world through the barrier. That would be a devastating disaster. In addition to these gains, Hasta also learned a lot of secrets from the lamp god. For example, the Hall of Stars is mainly based on the power of the stars, and order and rules are just two small powers. The stars are not the same as the star realm, and the star realm is part of the stars. According to the lamp god, the stars should be similar to the concept of the entire universe, and the star realm is just a special world in the entire universe. The stars return to their positions, the stars return to their positions. Hasta tried to separate the stars from the return to their positions, pondered several times, and vaguely understood the meaning it contained. If the stars refer to the entire universe, then the return to their positions should be the order and rules. So the stars return to their positions are collectively referred to as the rules and order of the entire universe. It's a bit wrong. In this case, the main authority of the Hall of Stars is rules and order, so how can it be stars? Asta quickly rejected the previous idea. He thought for a long time and felt that in order to solve this mystery, he must first clarify the concept of stars. After thinking for a long time, Asta still couldn't figure it out, so he decided to wait and find out from the lamp god later. If there is only one outer god, the lamp god, it seems too monotonous. It's easy to see through the truth when two people always chat face to face. Asta murmured, sweeping his eyes to the stars where the fallen Mother Goddess and the Mother Tree of Desire are located, and finally stopped on the star where the Mother Tree of Desire is located. The next time he gathers, he will try to pull the Mother Tree of Desire. As for the fallen Mother Goddess, Asta has always maintained the highest level of vigilance against her. Under the condition that God has not returned and the mystery has not awakened, the fallen Mother Goddess represents the strongest power. The risk factor is much higher than that of the Mother Tree of Desire, and it is definitely the first defense target. However, before pulling the Mother Tree of Desire to the meeting, it is necessary to find a way to prepare some self-protection means and also need to test it in advance. After all, the Mother Tree of Desire is not like the lamp god. He lives well outside the starry sky, and even swallowed the bound god. Pulling him to a meeting may easily cause him to counterattack, so be careful. Hasta thought quietly for a long time, and when he was about to leave the Hall of Stars, he was shocked to find that he seemed to be unable to whip the lamp god again in the future. Why not try to whip the Mother Tree of Desire and see how he reacts? If it is too troublesome, don't pull him to the next party. After thinking about it, forget it. It is easy to capsize in too many waves, so it is better to be careful. Wait a little longer. On the dawn, Bernadette in the cabin has been observing the changes in the wishing lamp, fearing that it will move again. At this time, the starry sky above the wishing lamp reappeared, and a chain that gathered starlight stretched out and fell on the wishing lamp. Before Bernadette could react, the entire starry sky disappeared, and everything returned to normal. Bernadette observed for a long time and did not find anything unusual about the wishing lamp, but the lamp god had been hiding inside and did not come out. Hey, it seems that I should make a decision. Storm Temple is still suitable for you. Bernadette's beautiful eyes were cold and her tone was icy. Even if you are suppressed in Storm Temple, you can't avoid what is coming. The lamp god slowly came out of the wishing lamp. Do you think I will believe you? I don't need to lie about this matter. Haven't you seen it yourself? What kind of power is that? I don't know. The lamp god was also somewhat helpless. It was only a wisp of his clone who went to the mysterious temple. Although it had consciousness and memory, the power it exerted might be too weak to explore many secrets. As long as he made any unusual moves, the existence would press his finger and his clone would be annihilated. Although he did not care about the fate of the clone, he did not want to offend the other party when they met for the first time. What kind of existence is the other party? Are you sure you want to know? The genie smiled and glanced at Bernadette, and continued, knowledge is poisonous. If you know him, he will also know you. He already knows my existence, so I naturally want to know more. Bernadette was not scared off by the genie's words. I can tell you everything that happened just now, but you must agree to a small request of mine. I won't agree to any deal you make. Help me find believers in the stars. The genie didn't care about Bernadette's instinctive defensive attitude. Quote? Bernadette looked puzzled. Which mysterious organization was Kungshing? Why had she never heard of it? Are the stars a new organization established by the goddess of the night? The Jinn god pondered for a while and said, I'm not sure if there are followers of Kungshing. You just need to pay attention casually, even if this transaction is completed. Bernadette said on guard, this is not my wish. This has nothing to do with the wishing lamp transaction. The genie's voice was majestic, and his whole body was shrouded in pale golden light, which meant that he had no deception or calculation regarding this transaction. This made Bernadette even more curious about the so-called believers of the stars, but she still did not agree directly, but changed her explanation. It wasn't a wish or a deal, just casual conversation. Even though the Jinn seemed trustworthy, Bernadette remained cautious and would not make any promises easily. The Jinn was not angry and quickly told Bernadette what he had seen and heard in his clone tonight. After hearing this, Bernadette sneered, no wonder you are so honest tonight. It turns out that you don't know the identity of the other party at all, so you want to find out everything about him through possible believers in the stars. His existence is even more dangerous to you. Once he cooperates with existences such as the fallen mother goddess and the desire mother tree, even if the barrier cannot be broken through, their erosion and pollution of this world will increase exponentially. Bernadette was silent. What happened tonight really shocked and frightened her. This was like the fallen mother goddess suddenly attacking her outside the starry sky through a barrier. The risk factor is too great, too scary. You can inform the Church of the Seven Gods about this news. The Jinn god put forward his own suggestion on the side. Instead of letting the other party hide his identity and hide outside the starry sky, let the seven gods find out his details as soon as possible. The unknown is often the scariest thing, and this sentence is even more applicable to a being like him. Are you very afraid of him? Bernadette saw the Jinn's little thoughts. You would do the same thing if you were me. I will think about it. Bernadette did not give a specific promise. After confirming again that the seal of the wishing lamp was okay, she got up and left the cabin. 11 seats, who else could there be besides me? The genie returned to the wishing lantern and began to think about tonight's harvest. There are only 3 things he wants to know most right now. Who is that being? Where is that mysterious palace? Do the 11 seats mean that besides myself, there were other foreign gods who attended the meeting in the past? After thinking for a long time, the Jinn finally sighed and the pale golden figure disappeared. He was still trapped in the wishing lamp, and even if he knew it, it would be difficult for him to change anything. Hasta slept so long that he missed breakfast. Butler Neil had people knock on the door 3 times, but failed to wake Asta from his sleep. It was not until lunchtime that Hasta woke up from his deep sleep. His spiritual power was severely depleted last night and could only be restored through sleep. Phew, please pay attention to the time next time to avoid being so tired every time. Hasta got up from the bed, went to the bathroom to wash up, and took another shower by the way. When it was time to change into new clothes, he paused and asked the maid waiting outside the door to change into something more unique. The so-called uniqueness refers to new era clothing that is different from traditional formal wear and shows more personality. For example, Intis-style men's clothing, their formal clothing is generally used for banquets, and they wear lighter, simple, and distinctive clothing in daily life. In East Balam and West Balam in the southern continent, their clothes are more bold and avant-garde, full of wildness. What Hasta wanted was southern continent-style clothing, but unfortunately he didn't have it in his wardrobe. Apart from formal wear and travel wear, there were only 2 or 3 sets of Intis-style clothes. After the final selection, Hasta selected one of the sets, which included a white Intis-style shirt, a dark black jacket, beige trousers, and black leather boots. This time I really want to thank Emperor Russell. If he hadn't stitched modern style with Intis style, he wouldn't be able to wear such a more personalized outfit. Butler Neil felt that this was not decent enough. He did not look like an aristocratic gentleman, but looked like ordinary civilians, which did not show nobility and elegance. Steward Neil, you should look younger once in a while, so that you won't live so tiringly. Hasta replied with a smile, and after finishing lunch, he went out for shopping. After being promoted to Sequence 8 Barbarian, he stayed at home for 2 days to adapt to his new state. Now that he has basically mastered the terrifying power of the barbarians, his safety factor has been raised to a higher level, and he is just in time to go out for a walk. Walking on the streets of the West District, there were not many pedestrians coming and going. Most of the big businessmen and small nobles traveled in horse-drawn carriages. The real pedestrians were usually people buying food and servants. In order not to affect the living environment, there are no slaughterhouses or vegetable markets nearby. They have to be found a little further away from the residential area. Hasta walked around a lot but didn't find anything new. He looked at the time and saw that it was almost 11 o'clock. Then we randomly found a restaurant to eat. Not long after he sat down to eat, he heard someone calling him from behind. Hasta put down his knife and fork, looking for the voice. It was Chief Reed, whom he had met once before. Baron Campbell, I didn't expect to see you here. Chief Reed followed the 2 young police officers and walked up with a smile. Perhaps this is the goddess's guidance. Hasta smiled and invited Chief Reed and the 3 of them to sit down. He happened to have something to ask Chief Reed. Praise the goddess. Sheriff Reed clicked 4 times on his chest to draw a crimson moon. He was also a devout believer in the goddess. After the 3 of them were seated, Hasta called the waiter and ordered 3 more meals. The food here is affordable and Hasta doesn't have to worry about it. Even if we invite a few more people, it won't cost more than £1. Sheriff Reed and the other 3 quickly stood up and thanked them before taking their seats again. While waiting for their meal, Hasta asked him about Andrew. We do have news about him recently. Someone saw him in the dock area yesterday. He seemed to be going to sea and leaving Backland. Our police have sent people to guard there to prevent him from getting on the ship and going to sea. Quote. Sheriff Reed still had some impression of the fraudster who dared to defraud the nobles. Last time, he led people to secretly guard near Hasta's house. Docklands. Hasta frowned slightly, thinking about arresting the fraudster himself if he had the chance. But the dock area was too close to the Sunrise Workhouse, and he didn't want to get close. He is very cunning. He might just be making a false move to mislead our judgment. Having said this, Chief Reed sighed. It has been a long time since he started chasing Andrew, but every time he was just a little bit close, he always failed to catch him. Have you gained anything else? Hasta tried to ask. At this time, 3 lunches had been delivered. In order not to disturb the conversation between Chief Reed and Hasta, the other 2 young police officers took their own lunches and sat at the table next to them. Sheriff Reed cut off a piece of steak, pondered for a moment and said, he seems to be very lucky. Every time we are just a little bit close to catching him. One of our men caught a glimpse of him while patrolling. Just when he was about to catch up and see what happened, he was interrupted by other things. Another time, We organized people to start checking the pub late at night, but they arrived a few minutes late and allowed him to slip out of the back door. Different luck. Hasta became alert. Different luck. Is there any extraordinary factor hidden in it? As far as he knows, the destiny path can give others good luck in encountering good things, and it can also curse others with continuous bad luck. He also recalled that when he was chatting with Professor Wayne, he once said that Voltaire Campbell had bad luck in gambling. He just turned over the cards and won a manor title deed. And Andrew came to blackmail him for £2,000 for no reason. Were they really just here for the money? Or did they want to force themselves to sell them something valuable? When they sneaked into the house where they lived that night, besides themselves, were they also looking for something else? Hasta fell into deep thought, and he knew that maybe he was too worried. It is entirely possible that this is a simple fraud and theft case where a group of fraudsters targeted you and then sneaked into the house to steal. As for the different luck, maybe someone in the police station tipped off Andrew. Seeing Hasta not speaking for a long time, Chief Reed said awkwardly, "We will capture him as soon as possible and we will never let him escape again next time. I have always believed in your abilities and your ability to arrest criminals and put them behind bars." Hasta spoke with a smile, glanced at Sheriff Reed's nearly eaten steak, and said, "Would you like a beer? Thank you for your generosity. Congratulations in advance on the arrest of the criminal." Hasta stretched out his hand to call the waiter and ordered 3 glasses of the best beer here and a drink. "I have something to do in the afternoon, so I can't drink," Hasta explained. Dockside area. Not long after he separated from Chief Reed, Hasta came here alone. In the past, he would not take risks here alone, but now he is playing the role of a barbarian, thinking less and doing more. Now that he has the intention, he comes to the dock area for a walk. Maybe you can actually gain something. After all, fate always attracts each other. Upon arriving at the dock area, he established a rule that the fateful encounter was irresistible. If Andrew is really an extraordinary person in the path of destiny, then there is a high probability that he will meet the other party. Hasta was walking in the dock area. Apart from being wary of pickpockets stealing his money, he walked around aimlessly. If you really have to rely on reasoning to trace, he will definitely not be as professional as the police department. What he focuses on this time is metaphysics. If you can meet the best one, there is no regret if you don't. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Hasta still had nothing to gain. He sat in a tavern and ordered 2 smoked sausages, a cup of Earl Grey tea, and a dessert as afternoon tea. Although the food here in the dock area is relatively rough, the smoked sausage is very delicious, much better than some famous restaurants. As for the dessert, the difference is a bit big, neither delicate nor delicious. Hasta quietly enjoyed his afternoon tea, his eyes occasionally swept inside and outside the tavern. Maybe he could really meet Andrew here. Halfway through the meal, Hasta's eyes glanced at the outside of the tavern and slightly condensed, and he really caught a glimpse of Andrew's figure. Compared with the image of a suit thug when he met last time, Andrew now wrapped himself tightly. His chin was also covered by the collar, and the clothes he wore were common among the workers here. He lowered his eyes, sometimes searching around, sometimes dodging, as if he was avoiding someone. Was he being targeted by the police department? Hasta did not pay the bill and stand up immediately, but patiently watched for a while. He wanted to see who Andrew was avoiding. If it was a police officer, he wouldn't have to worry so much, just follow carefully. If it was someone else, he would have to look carefully. Until Andrew's figure was about to disappear, Hasta didn't find anyone special following Andrew. Has he become a frightened bird? Hasta got up and paid 1 solely 4 pence, went out and mixed in the crowd, following Andrew. He always kept a safe distance of about 10 meters from Andrew, and only when Andrew was about to turn or disappear, he would speed up. The 2 of them walked one after the other, bypassing several alleys, passing 2 or 3 warehouses, and Andrew finally stopped at the door of a cabin. He searched around first, and then knocked on the door quietly. Soon, a 30-year-old strong man poked his head out, also scanning the surroundings first, and then met Andrew's eyes. After a brief exchange of words, Andrew followed the strong man into the cabin, and the door was closed again. Is this his hiding place? Hasta appeared from the corner and stared at the cabin for a while. He now has 2 better choices. One is to go and inform the nearby police officers to come here to arrest people and let the police department solve this matter. The second is to stay here, send someone to notify the nearby police officers, and then act with them. Of course, he chose the third way and rushed straight up. Asta found a thick wooden stick from nearby, weighed the weight, and came to the door of the cabin. He swung the wooden stick in his hand heavily and hit the door that was not very strong. Boom! The whole door collapsed. Asta strode in with a wooden stick in his hand and saw 3 figures in front of him. One of them was Andrew, who looked panicked, and the other 2 strong men looked alert. The black-clothed strong man picked up the bench in the house as a weapon, and the gray-clothed strong man took out the dagger hidden in his arms. The black-clad sturdy man looked at Andrew and cursed, "You idiot, you didn't even know the police came to your door." He's not a policeman, he's Voltaire's son. Andrew recognized Asta's identity and looked even more panicked. He took a step back and hid behind the 2 sturdy men, his eyes rolling, ready to slip away at any time. Voltaire's son. "Haha, did you come to my door yourself?" "Yes, I came by myself. Who told you not to look for me again?" Asta showed a simple and kind smile on his face, and before the 2 sturdy men could speak again, he smashed the black-clad sturdy man who was closer with the wooden stick in his hand. The black-clad sturdy man grinned fiercely, swung the bench with both hands, swept it from the right to the left, and smashed it on Asta's temple. The gray-clad sturdy man went around to the side, trying to block Asta's retreat. Asta was 1 step faster, and the wooden stick hit the black-clad sturdy man's head first. Crack! The wooden stick with heavy force broke in the middle. At the same time, the black-clad sturdy man's head also cracked. His head was buzzing, and before the black-clad sturdy man could marvel at Asta's great strength, he fell backwards, and Andrew quickly dodged to the side. The gray-clad sturdy man originally wanted to block the retreat and attack Asta from the side, but seeing this, he hurriedly ran out of the door. Asta turned around and glanced, and threw the half-broken wooden stick in his hand with all his strength. With a wail, the gray-clad sturdy man was stabbed in the waist by the broken wooden stick, and the heavy force brought him to the open space in front, and his forehead came into close contact with the ground, and he fainted. I was originally aiming at his thigh. Seeing that the gray-clad sturdy man could not run away for a while, Asta silently retracted his gaze and looked at Andrew, who had no way to retreat. He said calmly, "I think we can have a good chat." Andrew shrank back and leaned against the corner of the wall without daring to look up. This made Asta a little confused. He remembered that when they first met, Andrew's performance was not so bad. Has he been stimulated during this period? It seems that you prefer violence to chatting. Asta lifted the square wooden table in the room with one hand and raised it above his shoulder, as if he would cover Andrew with the table if he didn't speak again. Andrew shuddered and begged for mercy. "I really don't know anything. I just want to take the opportunity to extort money. Other things are none of my business." "Who asked you to extort me?" Quote. Andrew's face was pale and he moved his lips, but he didn't dare to say anything. At this time, there was a noise outside. It was the dock workers who happened to pass by here. They found a strong man in gray lying on the ground with blood on his waist. Andrew's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Gentlemen! There is a robbery here. Help!" Snap! Asta hit Andrew with the wooden table in his hand, causing him to see stars, bleed from his mouth and nose, and faint. After thinking for a while, Asta first tidied up his messy clothes, took the initiative to walk to the door, blocked the situation in the room, and shouted to the 3 dock workers who came after hearing the sound. "Gentlemen, the gangster just escaped from the back door. He still has a knife in his hand. It's very dangerous. Call the police and arrest him." The 3 dock workers quickly believed what Asta said when they saw his immature face and the clothes that were obviously not from ordinary people. One went to call the police, and the other 2 followed him bravely. After the 3 left, Asta returned to the room, picked up Andrew by the collar with one hand, and took him to another place while no one was around. When he passed by, he kicked the gray-clothed man who was stabbed in the waist by the broken wooden stick. The sewage outlet of a paper mill, where the pipes lead directly to the sea, and untreated industrial sewage directly rushes into the ocean. There was a disgusting smell nearby. Not far from the sewage outlet, Asta held Andrew's legs and put his head close to the black, smelly industrial sewage. Before he touched the industrial sewage, Andrew's body reacted, and a large mouthful of filth spurted out, and the whole person instantly recovered from the coma. He stared blankly for a few seconds before figuring out his current state. "No. I'll tell you everything." Looking at the industrial sewage only a finger away from his lips, Andrew finally begged for mercy. But it was useless. He still watched the smelly industrial sewage soak over his lips and flow into his nasal cavity. A feeling of suffocation from the stench instantly numbed his whole body, but he didn't dare to beg for mercy again, otherwise he would be greeted by a mouthful of chemical drinks. After soaking for 3 or 4 seconds, Asta lifted him out of the water, shook him twice, and then threw him on the shore. Wow! Andrew vomited again, until his face turned blue and his body was weak. He looked at Asta with fear. His lips trembled as he said, "You are simply a devil." He really couldn't imagine how such an elegant nobleman could do such a thing. This is even more vicious and awe-inspiring than the way they punish disobedient people. Now he can still feel numbness, bitterness, astringency and even a little sweetness on the tip of his tongue. Pooh! Andrew quickly spit a few more mouthfuls of saliva, trying to get rid of this complex taste on the tip of his tongue. The devil likes to hear the truth. I hope you don't try to hide anything. If there is one more body here, I'm afraid no one will find it within a month. Even if they find it, they will probably pretend that nothing happened. After all, the body is too smelly, and no one will want to salvage it. Asta's indifferent tone made Andrew's face pale again. He was really scared. I said, "Someone asked me to blackmail you for money. You lied. It seems that you still prefer to drink here." Asta's eyes narrowed, as if he saw through all of Andrew's little thoughts. "I didn't. What they actually wanted was something. It was my suggestion to use the excuse of extorting money, so that people would not be suspicious." Andrew shook his head quickly, and tears were about to come out. "What is it?" "They said it was a palm-sized golden box, and I don't know what it is called." Andrew was afraid that Asta would not believe him, so he stretched out his hand to gesture the size of the box. "Who are they?" "I don't know, but there are extraordinary people among them, that is, the kind of existence with extraordinary power. They promised me that as long as I can get the golden box, they will help me become a Sequence 9 criminal. Why don't they come to get it themselves, and need your help?" "I'm not sure, but I once heard them say this: only people who are related to fate can get things of fate." "What's special about you?" "I really played cards with your father Voltaire at the gambling table, and I won a lot of money from him." Asta stopped asking questions and began to think about the ins and outs of all this. Andrew did not lie about the last few questions. These were really all the information he knew. The key information included: golden box, fate-related, Voltaire Campbell. He had no recollection of the golden box. It might be something Voltaire had hidden away. If it really existed, it would most likely be hidden somewhere on the 3rd floor. The matter of fate was easier to understand. It must be the Beyonders of the fate path. They followed the guidance of fate. For many things, their way of dealing with them was a combination of charlatanism and metaphysics. As for Voltaire, he might have been cursed, so he had bad luck all the way, and finally even fell into the water and died. But this could not change the fact that he was a gambler. "I've said everything. Can I go now?" Seeing that Hasta had not spoken for a long time, Andrew asked timidly. "Are you going to jail?" Andrew's face turned pale, and he trembled. "You don't plan to let me go?" "Swindling a noble, involving a huge amount of money, don't you have to go to jail?" Don't you want to become a Sequence 9 criminal? This is a good opportunity." Andrew, lying on the ground, curled up and said silently. Asta didn't let him go so easily. He counted on his fingers and said, "Because of you, I broke 2 stained glass windows and was worried for so long. You should compensate a noble for his material and spiritual losses in order to have a fair chance of being sentenced to prison." Andrew understood the subtext of this sentence. If he didn't pay, he would be sunk into this industrial sewage. How much do you want? Oh, how much property do you have?" Asta's eyes lit up slightly. If a person doesn't have too much savings, he usually won't ask how much money he wants, but will directly say how much money he has left. Andrew shuddered and hesitantly said, "All my property adds up to less than 20 gold pounds." "Andrew, why are you lying again? You will anger the devil if you do this." For the sake of gold pounds, Asta is willing to give him another chance to tell the truth. Less than 100 pounds. I really only have this much money. There is really no more. Alas, you are not honest again. Asta walked forward, lifted up Andrew's legs in front of his horrified eyes, and moved sideways with his head down, close to the dark water. I say, I still have more than 200 pounds in cash. There is also a small house at 33rd Street in Sherwood District. Is that really all I have? Really? Andrew cried sadly. If he was really that rich, he would not blackmail a nobleman. The more than 200 pounds in cash was the only savings he had saved from years of frugality. Only honest people are qualified to be saved, but you still have to pay a little price for the lie just now. Asta sank his hands down, and Andrew's lips and nose were immersed in industrial sewage again. After a pause of 3 seconds, Asta lifted him out and threw him on the shore. Andrew supported the ground with one hand, turned sideways, and vomited again, almost vomiting bile. After Andrew's stomach was almost cleaned, Asta discussed with him the big issue of the amount of compensation. After a cordial and friendly exchange, Mr. Andrew was willing to take out all his cash to compensate Baron Hasta Campbell for his mental loss during this period. As for the money for the 2 stained glass windows, Baron Hasta Campbell showed the generosity of a noble and waived this considerable fee. Congratulations on your chance to be tried and imprisoned. Andrew curled up, turned his back to Asta, said nothing, and silently reached out to wipe his tears. Answer me a few more questions, and our feud will be over. Asta asked some more about Voltaire's performance at the gambling table in the past and some of his absurd behaviors. After 2 lessons, Andrew behaved very well and was very willing to cooperate with the questioning. When the nearby police officers received the news and rushed over, they saw Andrew hanging on a rope, his legs up and his head down, only a finger away from the black water. The fraudster Andrew had been fainted by the smoke, but fortunately there was no danger of life, but he kept vomiting after waking up. On the other side, Asta had taken 225 pounds and 6 solely as mental damages from Andrew's hiding place. This was a considerable income. Asta's steps became lighter. When he passed a clothing store, he sniffed his clothes and found that they smelled a bit bad. It should be because he stayed at the sewage outlet for too long, and his clothes were stained with the foul smell there. Without hesitation, Asta walked into the clothing store and prepared to buy a new set of clothes. As soon as he entered the clothing store, Asta looked surprised and looked at a figure in front of him who was choosing clothes. Miss Sharon. Is this the irresistible fate of meeting? Asta immediately thought of the rule he had set when he entered the dock area. He had also been to the Brave Bar many times. In addition to attending extraordinary parties, he was thinking about whether he would have a chance to meet Miss Sharon. Unexpectedly, he met her today in an ordinary clothing store in the dock area. She had long hair tied in a light golden bun, blue eyes, delicate features, pale face, and wore a complicated and exquisite black Gothic court dress and a small black soft hat. She was elegant and looked a little serious. Asta's eyes flashed with surprise, and he retracted his gaze and looked at the owner of the clothing store. This was a woman in her 30s, dressed simply but stylishly. I want a decent set of clothes, preferably a rough and bold style. Asta briefly described his requirements, and then asked the boss's wife to recommend a suitable set of clothes for him. Soon, the waitress in the store took a measuring tool to measure the various data of his body in order to select the most fitting clothes. With nothing to do, Asta looked towards Sharon unconsciously, but found that she had disappeared. Maybe she picked out clothes and left while he was chatting with the boss lady. Asta felt a little sorry that they didn't have a few words. The boss lady smiled and said, "A chance encounter always makes people more likely to believe in the existence of fate." Asta heard her implication and smiled. If there is a destiny, the meeting of fate is irresistible. It's really a day that makes people sigh for youth. Youth has never passed away, it has always been well preserved in you. Asta praised and talked to her about Sharon in the boss lady's bright eyes. According to the boss lady, this is the second time Sharon has come to their store to buy clothes. Every time she chooses several sets, all of which are the most popular styles. The last time she bought clothes was 2 months ago. The boss lady once asked Sharon if she wanted to order a few sets for her, but was declined, saying that she preferred to choose her favorite styles from the dazzling array of clothes. As for why such a girl with a different temperament from the dock area would come to the dock area to buy clothes alone, the boss lady did not ask, and she had no idea about private questions such as where she lived. After chatting with the boss lady for about 20 minutes, the waitress just came out and said that she had already chosen the clothes, and then led Asta to try on the clothes under the boss lady's reluctant eyes. After changing clothes, with the boss lady's enthusiastic discount, Asta only paid £3 and bought this set of South Continent-style clothes that could be sold for at least £5 in Queens and left with a small bag of old clothes. After leaving the clothing store, Asta looked around and did not see Miss Sharon. He took a carriage and returned to his home in the West District. As soon as he got on the carriage, a plain voice without ups and downs came into his ears. "Are you the young blonde noble who likes mysticism mentioned by Marich?" This voice, is it Miss Sharon? Asta's expression moved slightly, and he looked around, but he could not see Miss Sharon. As expected of a Sequence 5 Wraith, his ability to hide is really amazing. If I make a rule that no one can be invisible here, can I let Miss Sharon show her true identity? Asta just thought about it for a moment, but did not take action. He said calmly, "If Marich didn't know other blonde nobles, then it should be me." "Well, can you do me a favor?" Even if she was asking for help, Miss Sharon's voice was still as calm as water, without any waves, and pleasant to hear. What favor? Asta didn't mind providing some help to Miss Sharon and Marich. In the metropolis of Backland, the two of them would be good allies and close friends. Marich was caught by the police because of some things. I hope you can come forward to solve this matter. Aren't you extraordinary people? Ordinary people will be safer here. Asta understood the meaning of this sentence. Backland is the capital of all cities where gods may descend at any time. There are many extraordinary people hidden in Backland, not to mention demigods, even angels. The higher the sequence of the Beander, the more careful they must be when they come to Backland, otherwise they will easily be visited by the Church of the Goddess of Night and the Church of Storms to check the water meter. I need to know clearly why Marich was arrested, so that I can come forward to help him plead for bail. Backland Bridge District, Police Branch. Hasta arrived in a carriage. He asked Sharon to wait in the car and went in alone to deal with the matter. Although he didn't know where Sharon was hiding, she shouldn't be too far from the carriage. This time, Marich's arrest was not a big deal. As long as the other party gave up the pursuit, he would not be punished. The cause of the incident was not complicated. The night before yesterday, someone got drunk and made trouble in the Brave Bar. Marich asked his zombies to teach the other party a lesson. The zombies didn't control the strength of their hands well and injured the other party, probably to the extent of bruises. In the end, the other party apologized and left the Brave Bar. I thought the matter was over, but I didn't expect that before 20 minutes had passed, the man called the police and said that someone had maliciously beaten a noble. The police came to arrest the person, so Merrick naturally couldn't let his living corpse be taken to the police station, otherwise a big mess would occur. He could only take on the matter by himself, and was caught and locked up at the police station. With the extraordinary abilities of Marich and Sharon, they can easily escape from prison, but in this way, their identities will be exposed, and it will be difficult to live stably in Backland. There were many nobles among the people Marisi and Sharon knew, but it was difficult to ask those nobles to help intercede because the injured man was a Viscount. It's that Viscount Greylint. Sharon learned through her own channels that the reason why Viscount Greylint went to the Brave Bar that night was because his friend Baron Hasta Campbell had been here many times, so he also wanted to come here to watch. After all, unexpectedly, he was beaten up before he even got a glimpse of the secret. He was so angry that he chose to call the police. Sharon followed this clue and easily found Hasta. After understanding the specific appearance, she communicated with Marich and decided to come to Hasta to resolve the matter. She originally planned to choose a few more formal outfits and talk to Asta in person about it, but she didn't expect to meet Asta in this clothing store in the dock area. This is what happened later. In this regard, Hasta could only lament that Greylint was really lucky. He could meet Marich, a Sequence 6 Beander, once he went to the Brave Bar and send him to prison. Speaking of which, it was only through the help of Greylint that he was able to meet Miss Sharon and make her owe him a small favor. Entering the police station, Hasta identified himself, explained his purpose, and asked the police department to consult Greylint for his opinion. About an hour later, Asta took Marich out of the police station gate, got into the carriage, and headed to where Greylint lived. He had to tell Greylint personally about this matter. After knowing that Greylint had been looking for the recipe for the medicine master's potion and wanted to enter the extraordinary world, Marich asked Hasta to take him with him. He said that he could help Greylint solve the problem of the pharmacist's potion formula. Hasta did not reveal his little thoughts. He clearly wanted to show his identity as an Beander in front of Greylint. Also, being locked up in jail for 2 days and 1 night, I must have been holding back some anger in my heart. Asta did not refuse Marichi's request. Marichi went to see Greylint to express that he would expose this matter and would not seek revenge in the future. Otherwise, if Greylint made him suffer such a loss this time, he would have to be careful when going out in the future, as he would be beaten up by his zombie team at any time. In the villa, Greylint learned that Hasta was coming to visit, so he prepared tea early and waited. When he saw Hasta leading Marich in together, Greylint's face stiffened slightly, and he quickly raised his chin slightly and hummed softly. In his opinion, Hasta brought the other party here to make the other party apologize to him. With a smile in his eyes, Marich walked up to Greylint and spoke with a slight smile on his lips. Viscount Greylint, let's get to know Marich again, a sequence 6 Beander. Exclamation mark quote. Greylint was stunned for a while, then looked up at Hasta. After receiving Hasta's confirmation, he froze on the spot. A sequence 6 Beander. This should be the strongest Beander he knows. During this time, he gained a lot of knowledge about mysticism from Hasta, and he probably knew what kind of existence sequence 6 was. That is already a sequence representing the middle power in the extraordinary world. He himself has not even entered the initial sequence 9 yet. After the shock, Greylint smiled bitterly and gave Hasta a look asking for help. Don't worry, Mr. Marich is from the lawful good camp and will not secretly deal with you because of what happened before. Hasta asked Greylint to relax. Before Grayling could figure out what the lawful good camp represented, he heard Marich in front of him say gloomily, I am not from the lawful good camp. I just like to kill people and turn them into living corpses. This way even if he dies, he cannot escape my control. Greylint shuddered, his face turned slightly pale, and finally he forced a smile and said, Mr. Marich is joking, you must be a good person. No matter how good a person is put in prison, his character will change. Greylint breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. The other party wanted an apology from him. Mr. Marich, this matter is my fault, and I am willing to compensate accordingly. Before he could finish speaking, Marich interrupted, forget it, I'm not that stingy. Let's just let this matter go. Well, it's for his sake. Marich pointed at Haas Tower. Greylint and I are very good friends. Hasta said with a smile. Greylint's face gradually returned to normal, and he felt much more relaxed. I have the recipe for the medicine master's potion that you need. How many gold pounds do you plan to pay? Marich gave Greylint another surprise, 300 gold pounds. After reacting, Greylint directly quoted a relatively high price. Hasta once told him that the price of the sequence 9 potion formula was between 200 and 300 gold pounds. The medicine master's potion formula is relatively valuable, about 250 gold pounds. You're generous and a good bargain. Marich said, taking out a piece of paper from his arms and handing it to Greylint, and said, if you can't gather the extraordinary materials above, you can come to me for help. Of course, I will charge you a certain amount of hard work. Quote. Greylint took the paper with a smile and said with excitement, this is what it should be, it should be. He did not have the slightest doubt about the authenticity of the pharmacist's potion formula. He did not believe in Marich, but in Hasta's credibility. If Hasta wanted to lie to him, he would have given him a fake medicine master's potion formula long ago. There was no need to wait until now. You have better luck than me. Hasta gave Greylint a reassuring look. Marich and Sharon were still trustworthy. Ha ha. Greylint smiled for a while, and then hurriedly asked the servant to go down and prepare some things so that Marich and Hasta could stay for dinner. Marich was in the living corpse sequence. He didn't really need to eat, so he politely refused to leave. Of course, Hasta couldn't just slap his butt and leave like Marich. He also had to thank Greylint for giving him thin noodles today, and at the same time he had to answer some of Greylint's doubts. After all, he can be regarded as the guide for Greylint to enter the extraordinary world. After dinner, Greylint took Hasta to his study to chat and ask some questions about extraordinary materials. Hasta only recommended him a fairly trustworthy black market for trading extraordinary materials. He believed that Greylint would not be stupid enough to take risks himself every time. When it comes to buying extraordinary materials, he can definitely send someone he trusts to buy them. At the end of the conversation, Greylint mentioned that he was going to hold a small private party this week, saying that he wanted to give him a little shock. "Did you invite Miss Audrey?" Hasta made a casual guess. He noticed something was wrong with Audrey's expression last time they met. Hasta, can't you act a little stupid sometimes? Greylint, I also hope you can become smarter. Oh, I can't be this friend anymore. Greylint sighed, but his depression was quickly dissipated by the joy of the pharmacist's potion formula, and he smiled and left Hasta to chat for a while longer. Before leaving, Hasta specifically told Greylint not to tell others about the resurrection ceremony he had held, otherwise it would cause trouble. Greylint, who had already half-stepped into the extraordinary world, now began to realize how terrifying it was to hold a resurrection ceremony. Although the ritual ultimately failed, it was still terrifying. After hearing Hasta's instructions, he quickly agreed and promised not to tell anyone else in the future. When he got home, Hasta looked at his pocket watch. Around 9:30, he asked someone to prepare a substantial midnight snack. When he came to the bathroom and was about to take a shower, a slim figure appeared in the mirror in front of him. She was wearing a Gothic palace dress of a different color than this afternoon, and a small black gauze hat. Her blue eyes were like a pool of clear water, without any ripples flowing. Seeing Hasta look over, she held up the skirts on both sides of her hands, gracefully performed court etiquette, and then disappeared from the mirror. Hasta didn't have time to say anything. He could only lament that the extraordinary ability of the resentful soul was really elusive and unpredictable. Fortunately, I was still wearing clothes. If Miss Sharon suddenly appeared in the mirror while I was taking a shower, it would be really scary. But Miss Sharon won't be so boring, right? Hasta tried calling twice in a low voice, but when he received no response, he felt relieved. Pausing in front of the mirror for a while, Hasta summoned his spiritual power and formulated a new rule for this bathroom. Invisibility is prohibited here. Hiding is prohibited. After the rules were generated, Hasta turned on his spiritual vision again and checked it carefully, and indeed found no trace of Miss Sharon. He couldn't help but feel happy. He was just taking a bath, but he felt like a thief. The feeling of being a thief in your own home is really new. After taking a shower and eating a delicious late-night snack, Hasta was particularly excited. He looked at his pocket watch and saw that there was still more than an hour before 11:30. He came to the study and began to study advanced legal books. With the barbarian's physical bonus, he is now very energetic. Even if he is reading these complicated and boring legal provisions, he will not feel tired. It wasn't until 2 hours later that he put down his books and stretched back to the bedroom to rest. After lying on the bed for a while, he entered the Hall of Stars, with 2 chains of order hanging on both sides of him, swaying gently. Hasta stared at the star where the djinn was for a long time, and finally resisted the idea of lashing him a few times. I'm used to smoking, but I'm still a little uncomfortable at the moment. Sighing, he looked at the star where the mother tree of desire was, then looked back and began to think about what kind of rules should be formulated for the second chain of order. With the first rule as a foundation, he can now think more freely about some rules other than combat power, such as fate. From the time he was born in the mysterious world until now, it seems that he has a deep relationship with the word fate. The name Hasta Campbell is not a simple name in mysticism. Whether the king in yellow exists or not, it is something that needs to be vigilant. A person's name may affect a person's fate. In mysticism, the relationship between the two is even closer. And he has already carried this fate. Voltaire Campbell, the gambler, seems to have been cursed by the extraordinary person of the fate path, which made his gambling luck extremely unlucky, and finally lost his property and drowned by the river. Andrew came to blackmail himself, and there was also the shadow of the extraordinary person of the fate path behind him. Connecting this series of things, it seems that his fate has been arranged by someone. So can I use the Hall of Stars to make myself jump out of the influence of fate as much as possible? Make a fate that jumps out of fate. This is obviously impossible, because no matter what kind of fate it is still fate, and there is no fate that jumps out of fate. Then we can only reduce or get rid of the influence of fate on ourselves as much as possible. How should such rules be formulated? Asta was in trouble again and fell into deep thought. This was not something he could determine in a day or two, and he still had time to think slowly. At 6 in the morning, Asta had already woken up from his deep sleep. With the physique of a barbarian, his sleep time could be greatly reduced, and 4 hours of sleep a day was enough. When he got up and had nothing to do, he went to the study to continue reading legal books. At about 8:30, after breakfast, Asta asked the coachman to go to the suburbs. With nothing to do, he planned to go to the village where the old man lived and erect a monument for him. This was the only thing he could do for the old man. In the story narrated by the old man, he had no relatives or friends, nor any descendants, but lived alone in a secluded village in the suburbs. The suburbs were a bit far away, and with the bumpy carriage, it took Asta nearly 4 hours to reach the small village. Surrounded by mountains on 3 sides and water on one side, it is indeed a suitable place for retirement. However, for the villagers here, such a topographic pattern is the root cause of their poverty and backwardness. There are more mountains and fewer plains, and there are no rare mines nearby, so no company will come here to invest and build factories to drive economic growth. Asta's arrival attracted many people's attention. This place is a distance away from the city, and few nobles come here on weekdays. Hearing that Asta was looking for the old man, the villagers were discussing privately, could it be that the old man's grandson came to look for relatives? A young man who was responsible for leading the way was very talkative. Without Asta saying too much, he told everything he knew one by one. The old man was also a strange man in the village. Although he came from another place and lived alone, there was always endless meat at home. According to the hunters who went up the mountain to hunt, the old man was very familiar with the mountain environment and was very good at hunting. As long as he went around the mountain, he could have endless meat in a week. On weekdays, the old man occasionally used his prey to exchange some daily necessities with the villagers, and the price was very fair, so the villagers had a good relationship with him. Under the guidance of the young man, Asta came to the old man's house and pushed open the door. There were not many things in the room, but they were all neatly arranged. Asta thought that this should be a habit cultivated by the old man's many years of military career. He did not disturb the old man's house too much, but asked the young man to help him get a set of the old man's clothes, buy a small piece of grave, bury the clothes, and set up a monument for the old man. It read, "A confessor, an eternal warrior." After doing all this, Asta took out 1 gold pound and handed it to the busy young man, and then got on the carriage and returned in the strange eyes of the villagers. As for lunch, he bought some local bread in the village, dealt with it a little, and had a big meal after returning. On the carriage, Asta looked at the mountains in the distance and thought about it. He wanted to play a barbarian in the metropolis of Backland, which was a very difficult thing and easy to attract other people's attention. But if he goes to the suburbs, near the mountains and forests, will he be able to play the role of a barbarian more easily? For barbarians, wildness is also a very important point. Nothing can liberate wildness better than the natural environment. It's just that in the suburbs, far away from the urban circle, the risk factor is relatively high. You can consider letting Marich act as your bodyguard for a period of time. If Miss Sharon is willing to come, it will be safer. Asta thinks this method is very feasible. It happens that he also has a large manor in the suburbs, which he has not visited yet. It's a good time to go and take a look, but don't let it be ruined by mosquitoes, snakes and rats.